Welcome to the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks. We're Jim and Joe, lifelong friends, lifelong fans, bringing you fan-driven sports talk the way real fans do. No overpaid experts, no scripted analysis, just honest takes on the games, players, and the big stories shaping sports right now.
Want you to be a part of it too. Thank you to all of you who are subscribing. We really appreciate you. Drop your comments, questions, and takes, though. That's going to help drive the fun. That's why we're here, is to have fun. We'll read them all, bring them into future shows. So hit like, subscribe, and join the conversation every week for free on YouTube. We're on Spotify and wherever you listen. Hey, Joe.
What's up, Jim? Wow, happy rainy Monday up here in North Georgia. Wow.
It's a rainy day in Georgia.
It's a rainy day in Georgia. You know, that should be a song if it's not one already.
Sounds good, man. And
yeah. No, wait. That's when the lights went out in Georgia?
Yeah.
Haven't lost power.
And a rainy night in Georgia. There's a couple. Yes.
Although I'm sure some people watching this podcast right now are hoping that there's a power outage. But sorry to let you down. Jim and Joe are here.
We're still on
the full run here. And we have a lot to talk about. First of all, got a couple of comments from some folks about, hey, what happened to last week? What happened to our podcast last week? The pre-weekend show where we pick games and pick our favorites and all that. Well, Jim, what happened?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, do we call it was our bye week? Mm-hmm. You know, we just said bye because we had to get out of town. We had things to do. Or was it our open week? What's the difference? You know, bye?
I think if it's open, then you can do whatever you want. If it's a bye, you have to still practice, but you just don't play the game.
Gotcha.
So for us, it was definitely an open week.
Man, yes. We definitely have a lot to talk about too. What a great past weekend.
Yes.
NFL was so full of so many big stories and everything, and I think we were going to start by talking about poor Cam Skattebo.
Oh, poor Giants. I mean, You know, I was reading something about it, right after the injury, maybe too soon, but I was reading something about, this is way more than losing, your star running back. And I agree. We've talked about this before. What he and Jackson, Dart have brought to this team is way more than just, some very good stats and game day, numbers. They're losing a true on-the-field leader.
Attitude. I hope someone steps up. He's got such a great attitude, and that was a tough one to see. And I know everybody's talking about Cam Skattebo, but the Giants they took a tough one. But
you could
to see.
Skattebo is literally like, hey, take the Newt Rockne era, and just carve a running back out of that and put him on the field. And I mean, his game translates to the 50s, the 80s, the 2000s. His game and his attitude is always there. It's a tough loss, and I got to be honest with you, I felt a little guilty. He's on my fantasy football team, and it happened, early in the game. So it made me realize with fantasy football, wow, what a whole new world of sports for football fantasy has brought, because I'm watching games and I'm caring about games where, before fantasy, I might not have really cared about, the Houston game, for example, or the Bengals-Jets, which turned out to be a great game. But it's really got me involved in almost every game because I have so many players from different teams playing. But it also made me realize, has it made me like a cold-hearted football fan? Here's an example. Because Skattebo, he goes down, and if you saw it, you know he's out for the game or maybe more. My first reaction was, oh no, I just lost my running back in fantasy football. And my anger about that was kind of like my first reaction. And then of course I realize it's a it's a person, a human being, a football player, a good football player, and so that was only like a second thing. No offense, I don't want to be that way, but one thing fantasy's done is we've kind of turned a lot of these players into like our racehorses or stats. Where when someone gets a concussion, you're like, oh great, what an idiot, get down on the ground, man. Now he's out. Versus, oh God, I hope he's okay. So I'm just saying that's kind of with Scatterbo. He was my number one RB. So that hurt me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got another player that Scatterbo reminds me of. It's definitely a throwback player. Tucker Kraft of the Green Bay
Yeah.
Packers last night. You
Yeah.
know,
He had a great game.
what an amazing player. And then, of course, there were two where the camera showed him on the sideline or just getting up without using his arms or legs off the field. He just did like a
Yeah.
flip to get up after getting
Yeah.
tackled inside the 10 on another catch. But the sideline view of Tucker Kraft, like you said, Rockney makes me think of Bronco Nagurski. He's on the sideline, no helmet on. His Packers player, I think it was an offensive lineman, comes over to headbutt him with his helmet on, and Tucker Kraft didn't wait a second. He just
Yeah.
headbutted without his
No.
helmet
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So we can look for Tucker Kraft to start doing some Advil commercials pretty soon. Do you think
Mm.
so?
Uh, hey, it's a natural.
Yeah, it'll be
That the
perfect.
move that he did when he was on the ground and leaped to his feet with no hands or not using, not getting up off the ground. That's called a handspring. And I actually used to be able to do one of those. So after seeing that last night, I did it myself on the living room floor. And my chiropractor says I should be fine in about 3 weeks. So,
Sorry to hear that.
and I'm not 6'5", 6'6", 245 pounds, which I think he is. That was an amazing that's an amazing acrobatic move on that part. And it happened to be on tight end day.
Yeah,
Wasn't yesterday National Tight Ends Day? And we had so many tight ends making great plays yesterday. They should make that every weekend should be National Tight End Day because it was a great day to watch the tight ends. Kittle, I mean everybody. It was fantastic.
yep. So yeah, speaking of the great games and everything like that, just going over some of them since we didn't do our picks because we were on our bye week. Bye.
Right. Open.
The Colts still look amazing. 38-14 over the struggling Titans. Patriots putting up 32. They found their quarterback in Drake May, but it's not just Drake May. That team with Mike Vrabel is starting to remind me a lot more of the era that he was a player there in New England, where there's a lot of discipline, good defense. It was 32-13 over the Browns, and the Patriots, the Colts, and then the Broncos.
Wait a minute. Before we move on for the Patriots, they're playing like, I mean, I don't want to say the old Patriots, and there's no comparison between May and Brady, obviously. But who's their offensive coordinator? If I'm not mistaken, it's his third stint there, and arguably he was the reason more so Brady was as good as he was versus Belichick. So you got McDaniel back, which May is reaping that benefit big time because you his head coaching stint didn't go so well at the Raiders, but no one argues that he's obviously his pedigree as an offensive coordinator is inarguable as a great one. So
Yeah,
good for May.
that's a good point. And then the Broncos putting up 44 on Dallas. That surprised me.
It surprised me how bad Dallas looked.
Yeah,
Dallas did not look good. Offensively, they did not look good. Defense, I mean, they look like a mediocre team. What are they now? 3-1 or 3-4-1. I mean, they look like that.
yeah, yeah. They're like 2-3-1 or two, but we're not experts. That's why we weren't drafted.
No, we're not experts, and the fact that they're 3-4-1. I can't keep up with because of the tie. Anytime the NFL has a tie, it screws everyone up. I would know they're 3-5, no problem. But I don't know that because they're 3-4-1.
Right.
There should be no ties in the NFL. Play until somebody scores. Make the rules whatever. I understand we don't want to have 7-hour games and stuff. In game 3 of the season, but Can't have a tie. It just doesn't look right, and it screws people up trying to guess who's making the playoffs. Like, in 5 more weeks, we're going to be like, wait, can they get in with? I don't know. No ties.
And speaking of the Packers, they're 5-1-1 now because they were the team that tied Dallas. And nice win for Green Bay last night over
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. First time Rodgers faced his old team, the Pack. That game had a lot of people talking, and that was a good football game. Rodgers looked a
Well,
lot better, looked good,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft, man, to me was the difference last night. The guy's amazing. 2 touchdowns.
He he was unstoppable.
Yep, yep. And then
He was
Buffalo, the
unstoppable.
Bills putting up 40. Looks like they're not having any issues, but it was against Carolina. But that's still 40-9. That watch out for Buffalo. And then we had the Buccaneers look good, 23-3 over the Saints. I don't know what's going on with the Saints. Struggling isn't even the word for them. I don't know. But then the
Yeah,
New York
The Saints look.
Football Jets.
The Saints are hard to watch, and you're flying through these so fast. I can't even throw any comments in. I think the turning point of the Green Bay Pittsburgh game was the personal foul on TK Metcalf. That that was when the Pittsburgh was only down by a touchdown or less than a touchdown, and they had the ball on their own 30-ish or something like that. That ruined that drive, and Green Bay got the ball and scored on the very next drive, opening that game up. That was a horrible, terrible, selfish play, that personal foul by, punching somebody in the face, which, everyone knows that's going to get a flag. So, anyways, so sorry to go backwards, but I need to fit that one in there because that was a horrible play by him. And you could see Tomlin disgusted on the sidelines by that.
Yeah, yeah, that was a big turning point. Yep.
It was
Buffalo, like I had mentioned, Buffalo.
Buffalo, just,
They're not going to.
yawn, oh, Buffalo won again. I mean, Buffalo's the new Kansas City, I guess. Kansas City's the old Kansas City only because they look like they got a couple chinks in their armor, but Buffalo, what are they weak at? Even their field goal kicker's freaking great. So,
Yeah, that's a
I
good.
mean, seriously, Panthers suck. They're hard to watch, man.
Yeah, yeah. And then the Jets finally getting their first win for Aaron Glenn. And what a great game that was.
What a great game. Unbelievable. I mean, they were out of that game. It was over.
Just like last week with the Broncos comeback, the Jets pulled a Broncos impersonation, and good for them. They got their first win.
Love it. I mean, whether you love the Jets, hate the Jets, or somewhere in the middle, everyone's going through a lot of suffering when a team is 0-7. 0-2, 0-3, 0-4, you're suffering. 0-7, I mean, now you start to, are we going to win a game kind of thing? And just the fans, I mean, the people that work for the Jets, the player, it's really hard not to, be happy for that win for them, unless you're a true diehard Bengals fan, probably. That was a tough loss by the Bengals. I mean, you're up 38 to what? 38-16, I think. You give 23. No offense to Justin Fields. By the way, his post-game interview, Justin Fields, both on the field and at the podium after the game. Wow, I haven't really seen him talk publicly for a while. Hard not to be a Justin Fields fan, with every word coming out of his mouth after the game. And but no offense to Justin Fields, but you gave up 23 points in the fourth quarter to Justin Fields, and that's shame on Cincinnati.
There was a quick video of a lady in the stands, a Jets fan, and she had tears of joy. She was crying. She was so happy that the Jets finally won a game.
Oh, I mean, I believe it. There's a lot of diehard Jets fans. Justin Fields, another thing happy about him, he's the perennial backup quarterback. Well, he's been the starter for a while, so he's avoiding being on the Progressive commercials. I think it's Progressive doing all the backup quarterback, the commercials, somebody putting out a hornet's nest or somebody trying to back up a trailer, and they always call in, hey, Backup coming in. Whoever designed those commercials or thought of that is funny as heck. It was hilarious.
Latest one, the Mitchell Trubisky.
Trubisky, yeah, at the drive-through. Classic. Love it. And we've all been there, trying to order something like, I'll take three chicken sandwiches and no, wait, three cheeseburger, horns start honking to the girl in the back seat. Don't forget my strawberry shake, adding more pressure to the guy. It's like, Trubisky, you're in. Yes, I'll three number fours, please. Blah 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 blah, and a strawberry shake. Drive around, please pull forward.
3 seconds, he gets the order
Yep,
right. Thank God
love it,
for Trubisky.
love it, love it. So yeah, Justin Fields has avoided being in those commercials for the time being, but Andy Dalton will soon be on those commercials, I'm sure.
And that brings
But
up Tyler Huntley, backup quarterback for the Ravens.
unbelievable. Yep. Hey, good for him. I mean, the Ravens, if they're even capable of making the playoffs, they're going to be dangerous. They're not playing the way they should. They know that and all that. But with Lamar out, how far back can you fall? And I'll tell you what, that was a great performance by Huntley. I think he was 185, one TD, and no turnovers.
Yeah.
Huge.
And he was a Miami Dolphin last year, filling in when Tua was out for all those games. And he'd have up and down games, but when he's good, he's good. Tyler Huntley's been around a while. That's why he's still around, you know. But now we have and the Ravens coming to Miami at Hard Rock Thursday night to face the team. I gotta try to remember the
Mm.
team. The team that Dennis Green would have said it yesterday if he was the Atlanta Falcons head coach. They weren't who we thought they were.
No,
What
no,
happened? The
no,
Dolphins
they weren't. But
dominated.
you could be talking about the Falcons too, because
Yeah.
the Falcons laid an egg at home. Credit to the Dolphins. The Dolphins look like, the Dolphins we expected to see this year. Even without, Hill and all of that. But boy, the Dolphins made the Falcons look bad. And hey, kudos to the Dolphins. I mean, is it too late for the Dolphins? I don't know. Maybe we'll see Kirk Cousins. Oof, yikes. 173 yards. Not good. Um,
Yeah.
but
That was
the Dolphins look good. Tua looked great. Waddle looked like he should. The offense looked sharp. The offense looked very like the timing of everything looked really good, like it should. Tua, that's what he's really good at, right? Getting the ball out on time. And so, anyways, good. Good for Miami. We'll see. They're going to have to throw a couple back to backs of those if they want to get back into the conversation. Um, we could just mention tonight's game. I don't see any way the Chiefs lose this game. If Daniel was playing, then if Daniels was playing, maybe they'd have a chance. But I don't see anything happening other than a Chiefs win. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take we're doing a pick on this one for tonight. There's no way. I like Dan Quinn. I really like him, and
yeah, me
I
too.
just don't see the Chiefs losing at home.
No,
They're putting it
no,
together.
no official pick on this one. We're gonna save our picks now that we're off of our bye or open week. We'll
Yeah.
we'll save our picks for the weekend. But
Okay.
I think I'm going to tune into this. We'll close at the NFL with this. So we need to tune in on this because we have to participate in the Sports Equinox. I did not realize that this was a thing. There's a Sports Equinox where apparently back in the 1970s and 80s there were these rare days, and it wasn't just a Sunday or Saturday. It was a rare day where like all four sports had games on at the same time: NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL, and apparently it became like a thing that would happen every couple of years. And so it's really, I literally didn't know this until I started researching that it's really called like a sports equinox, where, for example, today You have the NFL game on tonight. You've got the MLB Game 3 World Series. You've got NBA with a full slate of like 11 games. You've got the NHL playing all their games, and you have the MLS playoff game going on. So 5 major sports going on today, tonight, all happening like in a 4 or 5 hour window. So it is truly a sports equinox. The challenge, as we talked about, was how do you watch them all? It's difficult. You've got your 4 screen thing going on. You might need an extra TV or your phone on to watch everything. But someone I read somewhere where it says in just a few hours, you can literally watch arguably the greatest North American sports and the greatest North American sports players all in a very short, window. So pretty interesting.
It should be a national holiday then. So
Why not?
if you're
Why
listening
not?
right now, you got to go to your boss and let them know that you watched the Undrafted Armchair Quarterback podcast. And because it's such a huge holiday, it's like Christmas in October, they should get the rest of the day off with pay. There we go.
Listen, I'm all for it because, listen, Tuesday should be a holiday because you know how many nights I've stayed up watching Monday Night Football, and
Oh,
going to bed at,
yeah.
midnight. Thank God they moved it back to 8 o'clock. Remember, it used to be on at 9. But this will be the 5th consecutive year there's been a sports equinox. Before that, before 2015, I think, it was like once every 3 years. But just as an example, you've got, you can watch Atani, you can watch Mahomes, you can watch, Jokic, you can watch Sidney Crosby, you can watch Evander in soccer, you can watch all these players in one night. So pretty interesting. Let's talk about college football real quick. There were not that many games on. The reason we went so long with NFL is because there were some intriguing, results. College, not so much. Only a couple of handful of games. I think Ole Miss, Oklahoma kind of, stole the, top 25 type matchup. So that was, good for Ole Miss. Oklahoma, I don't know. Mateer's not looking quite as scary as he was. And their defense, which was supposed to be one of the best defenses in the country, gave up 34 to Ole Miss.
Yeah. And then Lane Kiffin, leading Ole Miss to that victory, despite all the talk that Lane Kiffin may not be staying at Ole Miss. So we're going to have to see how all that plays out.
Yeah.
And then the
Well,
Texas A&M.
speaking of not staying, yeah, boy, Texas A&M, they looked legit. They look like a legit number 3. I don't know how much LSU, how much of a fight they're putting up right now. I didn't really think of Brian Kelly as a dead man walking, mainly because of his contract. And, what has he got, a 34-14 record? He's not horrible. He's going to bowls every year. Not good enough, right? Um, right after the game, they let him go.
Yeah. $54 million buyout, second largest buyout in CFP history. That's a lot of
Un,
money.
that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it we just talked about this with somebody else 5 seconds ago, and that was what is up with these 10, 12-year deals, man? You are, you are handcuffing your institutions. It's unbelievable.
yeah. And then could there be a underlying reason why Brian Kelly hasn't done so well, and especially the last 2 years against Texas A&M, specifically
I
getting
mean,
bullied?
could it be that they're not as strong as Texas A&M?
Strong like
Hmm.
bull?
Why? How could that be possible? Why wouldn't they be as strong as Texas A&M? Hmm. What about Tommy?
Strength coach at LSU for years and years and years and helped LSU win 3 national titles this century. Brian Kelly gets hired a few years ago, and what was one of the first things he did once he was hired at LSU?
Hired his strength and conditioning coach?
Yes, he did. He said, "You've been sacked."
And where did Moffitt go?
Texas A&M.
Oh, wait a minute. You fire and then you and then he and then that's why. Okay. That explains why LSU looked overmatched physically by Texas A&M. I get
Yeah.
it. Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Brian Kelly, he might want that one back because Texas A&M did look physically dominant over LSU. Hey, we'll see. That job is, hey, between Penn State and LSU, I mean, which jobs? That there's a lot of good jobs. Lane Kiffin, his name's going to always come up, but there's probably a lot of a lot of coaches who would consider LSU to be a home run destination. So,
Maybe Brian Kelly will end up, Bobby Petrino will hire him as the full-time head coach at Arkansas. And the first thing Brian Kelly's going to do is try to see if he can hire Tommy Moffitt as his strength coach.
yeah, why not? Listen, I've even heard Tyrann Matthews' name coming up as a possible coach. I mean, there's going to be some crazy names floated around for the LSU job, that's for sure. But Lane Kiffin's going to be one of them. Marcus Freeman, his name's going to come up as it always does now. I don't know why you would leave Notre Dame. Look, can you imagine if it Marcus Freeman? Can you imagine doing the exact same thing Brian Kelly did? Leave Notre Dame to go to LSU. I mean, I would just feel like, it's inevitable that it's cursed. That route doesn't work.
Not going to
Um,
happen.
hey, one
Fully
name I
doubt.
did hear come up that is very interesting to me is Joe Brady. Think about that. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for LSU, now at Buffalo Bills NFL,
Yeah.
showing what he can do there. But if he wants to get into coaching, I bet you he could demand some pretty good a pretty good contract himself there. So that'll be interesting to watch for sure. All right. What any other games that were of interest in college? I know everybody else kind of held serve, if you will. I don't think there were any. I think Alabama should have lost that game. They played like they should have lost that game. South Carolina, boy, just if you Google how to lose a game in the fourth quarter, they did everything right to lose that game. So that was kind of disappointing. Not because I don't like Alabama, but as a Miami fan, I need some teams to lose in front of me, of course, just to further solidify my chance. I know it's in our own hands. Miami's got to win out and all that, but Alabama they didn't look like the team that trounced Georgia and the team that trounced Missouri. So we'll see,
Yeah.
but.
Yep. In Missouri, they went in, gave Vanderbilt a tough fight. But I agree, South Carolina really put up a fight, and I was surprised by that outcome that it went to overtime to begin with. But
Yeah, I agree.
kudos to the Gamecocks for putting up that kind of a fight.
Yeah, that was good.
Surprising.
Texas Tech looked great. Honorable mention game that's not really on paper because it's not top 25 stuff, and we'll leave it with this. I did happen to notice and watch that Colorado got beat 53-7 by Utah. Um, it's I mean, it gets uglier than the score if you can believe that. For example, total offense 140 yards for Colorado. Total offense for Utah 587. Wow, that game wasn't even close. But by the way, 122 rushing yards given up by Colorado. I don't even know what the record is. Remember the old Oklahoma, Nebraska days in the 70s when they would
Fishbone.
play community colleges? I don't think they put up 422 rushing back then. Unbelievable. Part of me thinks it's a ploy for Dion to up the stock of Shador. That's how good Shador was because this would have never happened, but it was an embarrassment for the program. I can tell you that. Anyways, we'll leave it with that. Let's move on to MLB. Is there anything going on in Major League Baseball right now? I can't remember.
It's part of our October Christmas, isn't it? Yeah, game three
Oh,
tonight.
right. Yes, that's right.
Gonna
There's a
have
World Series going on.
You're gonna
I
have your
forgot.
TVs try to split screen Monday Night Football and basketball, and then your computer screen over here for Game 3 of the World Series, and games 1 and 2 delivered to keep everyone happy in Toronto and in Los Angeles. But Game 1, just to mention real quick, Blake Snell of my Dodgers came out and he started off pretty well, and then he got into some trouble, and Toronto pounced on him, and then the rest of the Dodgers bullpen. I've heard you mention that. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. No, the bullpen, they've had their struggles, but what I liked about game one and game two was the complete differences in only in baseball kind of thing where you had just an offensive demonstration, tons of runs and different ways of getting the runs, and then the very next game you have this unbelievable pitching shutout that was just a tale of two games. You had offense one game and pitching the next game, which in baseball both are kind of beautiful to watch in their own ways. Can't mention game one without Barger. I didn't realize at the time we were all watching history, Major League Baseball history, which I've always said when you talk about baseball history versus NFL or NBA history or NHL, baseball history is different. You're going way back, and you've got 162 games, and you've got tons of numbers. First time ever, pinch hit, grand slam in a World Series game. Unbelievable. That's historic for sure.
And it was an offensive juggernaut, and Addison Barger hitting that granny. That was
Yep, that's
something.
it.
They put up nine
Pinch hit,
runs.
pinch hit, grand slam.
Pinch hit granny. They put up
Pinch hit,
nine
grand slam.
runs in that one inning, and it was over. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
like
that
you
was.
said, game two, Yamamoto complete game, and then they got some timely home runs from Muncy and Smith. Smith 3 RBIs. Will the Thrill is back. I guess his broken hand is fine now. They really needed that, and they evened the series. But yeah, the just the baseball history with Barger's home run.
Oh,
That's something.
well, it was the first Grand Slam and this is what I thought was the record, but it was the first Grand Slam in Toronto Blue Jay post season home, record. So first being the first Grand Slam in your entire postseason history was one thing, but when you start talking about in Major League Baseball history, that's an amazing feat. And you think of all the players and of all the World Series and of all that, there's never been a pinch hit grand slam. Unbelievable. That's fantastic. And you know, yeah. And then finally, just the pitching. 9 innings pitched. 4 hits, complete game, unbelievable. The best thing about Yamamoto was not having to use the bullpen. So
Right.
that's kudos to the Dodgers there.
You're
So we'll
telling
see
me.
game three tonight. Yep, back in LA. Looking forward to it.
Yep, Tyler Glasnow tonight. So let's hope he can. I hope he can get it done. And the second straight complete game, Brewers, Yamamoto shut down the Brewers with a complete game to help not bring anyone out of the bullpen. And then game two of the World Series, another complete game. Kudos to Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Yeah, yeah, agreed, agreed. So we'll be watching that tonight, along with NFL, along with MLS, and we haven't even talked about the MLS. We don't have time to talk about the MLS. I do know that the first time I ever played soccer, I got a real kick out of it. So, I am interested in it. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm not. And but let's end it on this. We had a bye. We had an open week last week, but we fully intended on just briefly mentioning the NBA scandal going on right now. I'm sure most people are totally aware of it. Maybe some aren't, aware of the details going on. But you're looking at an FBI investigation. Nothing political here, but Stephen A. Smith is going around saying, it's the current FBI's or administration's way of getting back at people and all that. This investigation started in 2023. So just to put that out there, this has been ongoing for a long time, and there's 30 indictments. So it involves a lot of people, but of course, the key people that are in the news right now, of course, was Chauncey Billups. His indictment is all about a poker game. So apparently the mafia is still alive and well, and they have this poker game going on, high stakes. You and I are not invited. I can tell you that right now. And they have these high stakes poker games where they have used the latest and greatest technology. I'm just throwing a few out there, but they've used special eye contact lens. They mark the cards with, invisible ink that only these contact lenses can see. So the people in on it wear these contact lenses, and I can see what your cards are because they're marked with these special contact lenses. They used X-ray tables. When you put your cards down face down, like we all see on TV, on Poker World and all that, well, they have a table that can actually see your cards, and that's radioed into somebody and told them and all that. They got cameras in the chandelier. They've got, all these crazy high-tech things going on. Well, in order to make money, you got to bring in money, right? So Chauncey Billups, that Chauncey Billups, the head coach in the NBA, used his, his forum to get people to this game, people with a lot of money. And it's estimated that like $223 million have been, stolen over the team. Now, cheating at cards may or may not be illegal, but if you make money and take that money without reporting it, then of course, you've got money laundering and you've got wire fraud and all this that the FBI can get you on. On a whole separate note, you've got, several players in the NBA being indicted on the same type of charges, but this is for throwing games. Um, I've always said when you're betting on stuff, it's one thing because you're betting on a team to perform or outperform another team. But with all these new player props that have come on, these player props, now I'm betting on Jim. I'm betting on Jim to either get 19 points this game, or I can bet on Jim to not get 4 points this game. I've always thought to myself, how easy is it for one person to control a player prop that goes low, that goes under, right? So if I score 12 points a game and now I'm going to bet a player prop that Joe only gets 4 points a game, what prevents me from hurting my ankle in the 5th minute of a game and not getting those points? Well, nothing. You don't have to have a coach. You don't have to have anybody in on it. And that's where this whole other thing comes into play. Now you've got players, you got Rozier, and he's at the head of all this. But let me just give you a quick example. So he's arrested because what Rozier did was he told an informant that he was going to take himself out of a game and that he was going to not hit his number because he was going to intentionally get himself out of a game. And this informant, he told this to an informant, De Niro Laster, and Laster actually shared that information with people. Laster was paid $100,000 for that information, and there was like $61,000 bet on Rozier, and hundreds of thousands of dollars bet on Rozier to not get his numbers. There's more the tip of the iceberg apparently and all that, but nobody in the NBA is saying this is BS. Nobody in the NBA is saying, this is a bunch of crap. They're all saying, whoa, this is horrible. Charles Barkley, what a bunch of idiots, is his words and all this. So we'll see where it goes, but it's a big deal. On a side note, I read where DraftKings, they were one of the entities that helped find all this out because they have an algorithm, and whenever they see anything kind of suspicious happening, they can actually pop that up and take a better look into it. So it's tough because when you gamble on sports or even watch sports, you want to feel like it's all in the up and up. So when you start reading about stuff like this, it's kind of a big deal, and hopefully it doesn't spread too far or outside the NBA especially.
There's going to be a lot more allegations and indictments, it looks like, and it's just really, it's a sad story. But
it's a sad story, and hopefully it doesn't, like I say, spread out too far because with all these player props especially, and you can bet on one player to hit or not hit a number, it's not that hard for that player to not hit a number. All they got to do is be injured or play poorly or something like that. So anyways, we'll see. I'm not a conspiracy guy necessarily, but this is by the way, the people involved, like Chauncey Billups, impeccable reputations. This isn't like some disgruntled coach who got fired or a player who's, these are like like kind of shocking names really to be associated with this. So we'll see where it goes.
Hopefully they clean it up. Get up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I bet they do. Oh, oh, I should. That's probably too soon. I know.
And speaking of cleaning up,
Yes.
that was a fun show today, Joe. I'll
All
tell
right,
you.
my friend. Sorry to leave it on a bummer like that and hog up all the time, but it's keep an eye on that because we'll circle back. But our bye week, our open week is no longer. We don't have one anymore, so we will be back in a couple days with our pre-weekend show. We will. So that's it for this episode of the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks with Jim and Joe. Thanks for checking us out and hanging with us for some real fan-driven sports talk.
Don't forget, thank you. Please take our thanks for subscribing to our show. And your comments are a part of the show. Drop them below. We'll read them and feature them in future episodes. Be sure to like, subscribe, and catch us every week for free on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you listen. Thank you.
See you soon.
You have a good
Thanks,
one,
buddy.
Joe.
Take care. See you, man.